Hello, and welcome to Just Another Real Estate Podcast, where we'll speak with Arizona's most successful real estate professionals to better understand their business, current market conditions, team and business building strategies, successes, and challenges. This podcast is brought to you by Dwell Inspect Arizona with your host, Sean Garvey.
Welcome back to Just Another Real Estate Podcast. Today's guest is Jason Serikaku with the Phoenix Home Collective. We're super excited to have him. I've known Jason for a long time. I was introduced to Jason from a common friend from my first business in Hawaii. Jason's also from Hawaii, an Arizona transplant. He's got a really compelling story, and I'm excited to hear about it. Welcome, Jason. Thank you for being on today.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me. Compelling story. We're setting us up for success here. I'm going to have to come up with something compelling now.
Well, you've got some compelling things to talk about. So yeah, it is compelling, and there's a lot we can go into it. About living in Hawaii, how you got here, how you started in business, how you got into real estate. But we're going to get into that. So you've been a real estate agent for how long now?
7 years now.
7 years now. And you recently started a team, or maybe not too recently, but maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. And your team has definitely exploded since you started it. You had what I would call hyper growth. You went from pushing all the buttons and driving business, and then all of a sudden you're still driving your business and then leading a team of really high successful agents.
It's been a lot of fun. We're with Realty One Group, and it wasn't by design, to be honest with you. I had no intention of growing as quickly as we did. It just kind of happened. But I think like attracts like a lot of times. If you put out the right vibe. I know actually Tom Ferry coaching, which several of my teammates are a part of, and I have been a part of in the past too. It's a real estate coaching platform. I mean, they basically say, your vibe attracts your tribe. And I believe in that. Like, you put out what you get back. And we've got a great group of agents on Phoenix Home Collective at Realty One Group, 5 agents and 6, including myself. And things have been good.
That's amazing. Let's go back. How'd you get into the business? So
as you mentioned, I grew up in Hawaii. That's how you and I know each other. We have a mutual friend in Hawaii. He's also a real estate agent,
Yeah.
And, I know most people know your background, but if they don't, you started in Hawaii, you were doing property inspections out there, and then decided to come back home to Arizona. Yep. And what was it? How many years ago now?
We moved back 2016. Our business got started in 2017. Oh no, we got started. We moved back in 2017, I guess.
Okay.
16.
So about 5 years now.
2016. God, that I should know that. 2016. But you and I met before I even started my first. Before I was even licensed out here.
Yeah.
Our fellow friend Ki Lau put us in touch, and we had a.
Good agent in Hawaii, if you're looking for one, by the way.
Good agent in Hawaii. We had a coffee at what I call the office, which is also Lucy's down on 12th Street and Glendale.
Oh, yeah. a lot of business to be had at Lucy's on 12th over there. So anyway, so I grew up in Hawaii. I moved here when I was 26. The big question is, why are you here? Right?
Yeah,
Everybody you say you're from Hawaii, like, what are you doing here? As you probably know, the cost of living, having lived there yourself, is very high in Hawaii. Everything's a competition, especially housing. I believe the median price point for a home right now is 1.1 million, and that's a 2-bedroom, termite-eaten shack.
Yep.
But anyway, so I came out here. A friend of mine actually was investing in real estate and came out here before I did. And it's funny because growing up in Hawaii, my perception of Phoenix and the desert was what you see on TV, and just tumbleweeds and cactus and sand is what I anticipated when I got out here. And I was pleasantly surprised. It's a thriving metropolis with, every business you can imagine and every type of cuisine you can imagine.
Sure.
And so I've called the greater Phoenix area home now for almost 17 years now.
Wow.
And so how I got into real estate, I was in the bar business for many, many years. It's actually a very lucrative job in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I did that for about 15 years. Even when I moved here, I was still bartending, and I made a lot of great connections. And when I was young, it was a great job to have. Or when I was young, when my kids were young, when I was young too, but when my kids were young, it was a great job to have because I'd be home all day before they went to school. Or I'm sorry, I'd be home all day, and then right before they went to bed, I would go to work. So I wouldn't see them for a couple hours, and then they'd wake up in the morning and I'd be there again. And then once they started school, the schedule got kind of wonky where I'd see them, a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours when I got home from school, and then I went to work. And so it just, something needed to give. I said, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing out, on their childhood. So one of my regulars would come into the restaurant bar that I worked at often mentioned that, I might want to look into being a loan officer. And I said, I don't know anything about that. He said, well, let's talk about it. And then I think it was the next day, another one of my my regulars came in, and I mentioned it to her, and she's like, oh, Jason, you want to be a real estate agent. You don't want to be a loan officer. So no offense to loan officers, but I chose the path of real estate, and been doing it for 7 years now. And I find it to be really rewarding and enjoyable.
So we have a similar path on that. And the funny thing is I bartended when I was out in Hawaii and starting this business as well, or the first business as well. So we actually have common friends that are in the bartending business in Hawaii too.
You worked at Duke's, right?
I worked at Duke's and Hula Grill
It's such a hard bar for people that don't know. Like, somebody's either got to retire or die for you to get a bartending spot over there. I don't know about now, but back in the day, it was like
same. It's lifers. Not any better. Yep. Yeah, we had
right off the beach
when I was there that were working there for 20 plus years. And I just to get to a bartending shift, it took me 3 years of bar backing. Which is grinding and that's terrible. No offense to anybody who bar backs, but it's really hard work. 12-hour shifts, that type of stuff. But yeah, so I supplemented the startup costs of my business while I would bartend at night and then wake up in the morning and that would fund my business. And I would start the business in that respect. So I was working, 18 hours a day for a while we were starting it. But a regular who would come into my bar at Duke's started to push me into home inspections, and I was doing some property management at the time, and it kind of transitioned well into that. So not property manager per se, but project management. Sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that, but so you've been doing real estate, working as a full-time real estate agent for 7 years.
So I was part-time in the beginning. I was still bartending. I had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And, I got to a point where I started getting a little busy and having to leave the bar to go to the back office and write contracts and send things for signature. And it quickly became apparent that it wasn't going to work out. And a lot of people don't know this, but I actually got fired from my bartending job. It's the only time I've ever gotten fired. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me, really. I mean, who knows how long I would have, until I felt comfortable, that I would have taken that leap of faith. And I know a lot of people that are getting into the business are kind of wary of that, right? It's very much, it's a commission-based job, right? We get paid when we produce, when we find somebody a home or when we sell a home. But other than that, I mean, you're not getting paid. So, so it was an interesting transition for me, but it allowed me to focus 100% on, being there for my clients where I wasn't pulled in so many directions. And as you can imagine, the hours of a bartender weren't very conducive to, early morning, phone calls and such. And I was getting up early with the kids anyway. But anyway, So now, fast forward, I started with a local company at the time was called Green Street Realty, that then became North & Co. I was there for several years. I made a lot of great contacts, a lot of great mentors there. Brian North, Stephanie Gonzalez, Michelle Williamson was my associate broker there, and I learned a lot. A lot of great contacts over there as well, that I still keep in contact with. And so, for me, switching to Realty One Group, it was strictly a business decision. I wanted to grow my team, and I just felt that they were giving me the tools that I needed to do that a little quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first, actually, they both came on about the same time. My first teammates were a former teacher and a former bar manager. Which, they say in real estate, there's a couple of professions that really translate to real estate. And I believe they're bartenders and servers, nurses, and teachers make some of the best. And I think a lot of it is, one, just your rapport and your bedside manner, so to speak, I guess, for a nurse, but also the teaching element. There's a lot of instruction and a lot of education that goes into being a real estate agent and, informing your clients, what's going on every step of the way. So check marked all those, but I don't have a nurse actually on. We have to find a nurse now.
Yeah.
Now that I say that. So I had two teammates, and then we brought on a third who was actually in the Tom Ferry coaching network and actually reached out to me directly. She was looking for a team. And then shortly thereafter, a former colleague of mine reached out as well and joined the team. And then she had a former coworker at another business that she used to work at that was also starting real estate. And it just all clicked, and I don't know, when you do your hires, do you do any personality testing or anything like that? Is that something that you guys look into?
Yeah, so we do a DISC assessment, and we use the DISC assessment, quite honestly, in a couple different facets. I find it to be pretty interesting. We use DISC assessment for our potential teammates, or addition to our potential teammates, but we also, when we're calling your clients as an introduction and to set expectations prior to an inspection, our office people are trying to do a quick DISC assessment on the clients too, so that we can kind of tip off the inspectors about who they're going to be dealing with, whether it's a party animal or an engineer.
How often do you drink? Do you drink daily? Weekly?
No, we ask a question called, what are your special concerns about the property? And with that question, somebody's true personality comes out.
Okay. Interesting.
So
a lot of questions. I mean, by asking the right questions, you can really get a lot from a conversation, right?
Yeah.
But the DISC assessment is fantastic, and that was recommended to me early on by some other team leads, and they said, if you're going to form a team, you want to make sure everybody's going to mesh and that like-minded in the sense that you all are moving towards the same goal, ideology, and just in terms of how you run your business too. We're all individual business owners, but we're all working collectively, pun intended, to make sure that we're representing our clients to the best of our ability. And branding is a big part of that as well. And I know you guys do a fantastic job with branding. And so, that's something that's near and dear to my heart. I have a communications and journalism degree, and in college, I used to do all the newspaper editing and, having to size things and make sure that the logos and everything look good. So I need to take that off my plate, though. I am looking right now in my business. I'm looking to hire a media manager, so somebody that can do social media, branding. A lot of stuff that I enjoy doing. It just takes a lot of time. I'd rather spend that time doing the activities that are going to grow the business in terms of meeting with people, conversations, and so forth. So,
and now you're putting that out into the world, and the right person's going to
put it out into the world. I expect to get phone calls after this.
That's right. Well, there's only 2 or 3 people that listen, so if one of you,
hopefully one of them is a media manager,
needs a job, Jason's hiring. I think one of the things I picked up on, you said, as we went into the DISC assessment, or your target real estate agents, or what makes a good agent, the 3 things that you said are passionate businesses, people that are coming from a passionate career, they're high pressure, and their jobs never really stop. Like, you never really stop being a nurse or a teacher, and you're kind of in it until the job is done. And that's why, to me, right away, that's why it translates, because a real estate agent, you're answering calls at 7 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night, and you're in it doing what it takes to get the job done until it's done. And it's never really done, because then you're,
I mean, there's a lot of multitasking for sure. So any job that, you know, requires multitasking, high level of communication, a lot of empathy, in terms of what somebody's going through, and be able to communicate in such a way that they know that you understand what they're going through. So, you know, those three professions tend to, you know, I think bartending for me, and I don't know if you can, comment on this, you know, the rapport building aspect of bartending is huge, I think, in any business that you're going to go into, right? You have a very limited amount of time to make that connection with somebody who's sitting across, and invite them to come back, and give them a reason to come back, right? So I know you've talked about this on previous shows, but I feel everybody would benefit from working in the service industry, even for a short 100%. Time. If nothing else, for empathy for the food service, but I think there's a lot of worthwhile skills that can be gained from doing that and working in that industry. And of course, you meet people from all walks of life too. I mean, I had, people that would, just come in regularly that you would never know. They're salt of the earth type of people, but, they put down their American Express black card. It's like, are you going to go buy a jet after this, after you're done, having a couple, it's like, you would never know. But, so a lot of my early, going back to how I got started and, transitioning from the service industry, which I know a lot of people are looking to do, and a lot of people have done. The biggest thing for me was reaching out to the people that I already knew, right? And a lot of them knew me, liked me, and trust me from just being in that capacity. But it was funny because they know me in that scope, right? Yeah, Jason, the guy that I can go and talk to and takes care of me at the bar, but. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to entrust you with one of the single most expensive transactions that I'm going to make in life. There was a little bit of a disconnect there in the beginning until I started to get my feet under me, and thank you to the first few that trusted me and buying or selling a home, because it really got me started. And it takes a little bit, and I think anybody that's starting out, to think that you're going to have instant success, you're going to have a lot of people that are family members, even that are close, that you would just assume that are going to use you as their agent. That one, they may not trust you necessarily because you don't have the experience yet. Two, they don't want to alienate you if things go sideways, right? They still want to be, they still want to love you. And third, a lot of people just don't want to give you their financial information. They just don't want to let you in on that side of their life. So. I would say if you're starting out, just know that, like in the beginning, a lot of people that you just take for granted are going to use you aren't for those reasons, and don't take your
feelings are going to get hurt. Yeah, no, but your feelings are going to get hurt for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but somebody told me that early on before I even got started, like, hey, just so you know, a lot of people that are very close to you are going to choose to go elsewhere because you just don't have the experience yet. And they don't want to put that on you, and they don't want to resent you if things go sideways. So it's understood.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I mean, everybody has to start somewhere. Even when I got started in the home inspection business, and I, put out my shingle and I'm open for business, it's not the people that I knew that helped me get into it. It's the people that I went out and met that helped me get into it. And then when I had the validation, after a couple of weeks, 6 months, a year, then the ball started rolling. The people that I knew started coming back into it. Some people, it was a couple of years, and that's okay. I didn't fault them for that. I just knew, my expected path was not the same as what actually happened. And so it was a total learning experience. Good point. I can relate.
Yeah. So, I mean, and transitioning from that industry too, I think a lot of people are like, fear to jump into it, but until you do, I think you're really not going to see the results that you're looking for, the goals that you set for yourself, because you're distracted. You have a cushion. That's the other thing. You have a soft landing. So for example, if I were to have kept bartending, bartending is one of those, you need more money, you pick up a shift type of thing, right? Yeah. So if things aren't going well. So I think, for those that are thinking about getting into the industry, you really just have to commit to yourself. I mean, find a good mentor, find a good coaching program, and just invest in yourself. Invest in your business. But it's a changing market right now that we're in too. So I think there's a lot of people that are wanting to get into the market that maybe have false expectations of what it is. There was a time where you could stick a sign in the ground and there'd be a line out the door, and that has since changed. So there's a lot of networking and a lot of collaboration that goes on in order to get a home sold these days.
One thing you mentioned on there too is finding a good mentor. What paths and who did you kind of reach out to find a mentor, or how did those relationships start?
So, Tiffany Featherstone, who's at North and
Hmm.
Co, was the realtor that was coming in and told me, hey, I think you should come and take a look and see what we're doing. And I met with Brian North, and he became a mentor, as did a lot of the other agents there at the brokerage. One of the things that sticks with me, this is not really mentorship, but just like a quote that really put into perspective what real estate could be. After I was in the biz for like a couple of years, a realtor named Zach Hawker was a speaker at one of our meetings, and he told a story about, he was going to dinner, I believe, with a friend who was doing pretty well, but he was the top of whatever business he was in. He was at the top. He couldn't advance. That was it. And he was
Right.
making, something crazy like $300,000 a year in whatever he was doing at the time. This was several years ago. And he told him, he's like, I envy you. He's like, why do you envy me? Like, you're making all this money. You got all this. He's like, you have limited income potential. There's no ceiling. Like, it's as hard as you want to work is what you're going to get. And that really stuck with me.
Uh-huh.
From a like a business owner perspective, is knowing that, there is no limit to, how many people you can help. And in terms of, obviously you're limited by hours in the day, but in terms of, a business that you truly get back what you put into it. There's a book that I really like called The Go-Giver
Oh yeah.
by Bob Berg and John David Mann. And one of the lines in there, they talk about these different principles, and it's a really good book. It's kind of a narrative, just about a business idea. But they say that your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. And that really stuck with me as well. Like, in terms of any other job that you can do, a lot of it is helping people, but this one, it's just, the more people that you help, the more business that you get, it seems like, in this business. Right. Just from word of mouth, and just from,
Sure.
just from taking care of people. So it's very rewarding in that sense. I would say a majority of my business is repeat or referral business. I know there's some agents that pay for leads, and they have generation subscriptions to whatever. But I just find that taking care of people, and kind of like how you built your business, right? Like, just taking care of people, and say, hey, if you know somebody else that I can help, let me know, type of thing is the way to go.
For the sale.
But,
yeah, that goes. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, but yeah, just to kind of follow up with that, the thing I like most about real estate is that you get to help people that otherwise would not be able to purchase a home or sell a home if not given the right information. Right? There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I feel like that's a big part of our job, is, like I said, the education part, just explaining all your options so you know exactly what is possible, and then creating a plan, based on your specific circumstances to get you where you want to be.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's about acquiring new clients and creating those relationships. When I started this, I went back to the business fundamentals or the marketing 101 fundamentals, which I want to cover because you guys are knocking marketing out of the park with some techniques that you're using. But and I don't remember the statistics, but the message is still basically the same. If you do a good job for somebody, they're going to tell 8 people. If you make them upset or you do a poor job, they're going to tell 12. And that number is amplified now. It's
that's like the Yelp concept, right? It's like, people that go on a Yelp, they either had a fantastic experience or really, really bad experience. And most of the time, it's the people that had really, really bad experiences.
It is.
But it's true, right? It's like it's what's funny about that is it really only takes, one person to tell, as many people as they can that they had a bad experience, right? So,
right.
I'm curious to know, like, what are some of the things that you guys focus on right now from a marketing perspective in terms of, who is your target clientele? Like, is it the agent or is it the consumer? And are you doing both?
It's actually both. So we attract the consumer through review capture, SEO, blogging, videos, report creation, like creating a pretty report that has a lot of tools in there that people go back, that's kind of evergreen, and blog links in it and such. And then obviously we work with and partner with a lot of real estate agents around town, because they have, you might have a real estate agent that does 1 or 2 transactions a year, which is, 1 or 2 opportunities to be recommended to a potential home buyer. Or you have a real estate agent that might do 100 transactions a year, which is 100 opportunities. So with each inspection, we look at it from the optics of 4 people to impress or attract. You have the buyer and the seller selling a home and will likely be purchasing a new home. Maybe it's in Phoenix, maybe it's not. And then you have the buyer's agent and then the listing agent. So we have 4 opportunities every inspection.
I would imagine that you guys do a pretty good job on the sales, like getting business for their next purchase. On the sell side that haven't heard of you or used you, just because your guys' report is so easily read and understood and easily navigated. Plus, you guys put pictures and videos and all there's no shades of gray, like when it comes to your inspection report. Like, people know exactly what they're looking at, and of course your inspectors are always available, to call if anybody has any follow-up questions. But basically that's how I promote you guys. Like, we always give a list of available inspectors. Like, these are some of the top companies. This is who we would recommend, and here's why, and for all the reasons mentioned. And rarely do they go elsewhere. And of course we always, recommend that they, at least give you a try.
Do the research.
And do the research. But you guys do a fantastic job. And it's funny, like in the beginning when I first started using you, it was your company.
Sure. It was
kind of like it was kind of like, what'd you say?
It was just me.
Oh, it was just you, actually. Yeah, you were Dwell Inspect. But in the beginning it was like, man, these guys are good. Like, and before you had a crew, it was like, I don't know if I want to share these guys with anybody. Like, you're going to get to a point where you're just too busy for me. But you grew as needed, and you guys are doing real well. And I give you guys all the credit in the world, because you guys are pretty well known now. I don't know if you know this or not, but like, talking to agents, like, it's not like there's some obscure, companies, the one-offs. People are like, I've never even heard of this inspection company before, but most of them are like, all right, Dwell Inspect. Okay. I know their product. I know they do a good job. So anyway, blow you up a little bit here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. No, it's a fraction industry. And if you had to sketch out, a typical home inspector, it's 80% are probably single man operators, and a guy in a truck. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you're right. Like, your business does cap out after a certain amount of time, and there's only so many hours a day, and you're either working 7 days a week and doing, I think my personal max at one point was about 18 or 19 inspections in a week. Myself, yeah. And that's when I was like answering the phones, booking inspections, driving. Of course I wasn't driving and answering phones at the same time.
Having lunch though. Having lunch.
I skipped lunch and just kept going through. I had a price list on the back of my phone. I had a see-through case, and somebody would like call in and book an inspection. I'd be like, I don't know, it's like this amount. And I have Wednesday open, and it's like, well, we can't do a Wednesday. I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Then I have next Wednesday open.
Now you have fantastic business managers in Leah and Juan. So that's where I want to be. That's what I need right now. Is I need a Leah. I need somebody that can do the behind the scenes stuff and keep everything on track. So I think to your point, as far as is growing and being able to the same level of service, right? You don't want to grow and compromise service. Right. And I think a lot of industries do that, right? They're all about growth and numbers, and they're not doing what they need to do to, they're getting watered down. They're not doing what they need to do. As far as what, just going back to the team building and growth and all that, one of the reasons that I actually wanted to form a team is I went on a trip with some friends, and it was actually a bachelor party to Denver.
Yeah.
And we were having a great time, and every so often I'd have to check my phone. I have to go on the laptop, and there was another agent who was on the trip with us, and he was just kicking back, just relaxing. And he has a team, and he's very productive. And I asked him, I'm like, how are you doing this right now? Like, are you not needing to check in or anything? He's like, I've got a team and everybody overlaps. And when I travel, I'm able to travel and disconnect.
Beautiful.
So I said, well, that sounds appealing. So that's,
here we go.
We have it. The team that we're on, and I know every team construction is different, but we're all individual agents. We don't have like a buyer's agent or seller's agent. We're all individual agents. But when somebody is out of town, we all pick up the slack. So if anybody needs anything, inspection, or to meet with a client to show a home, or a seller needs something, everybody's available, which is really, really helpful, I think, in keeping that work-life balance. Right. As much as we want to go. And as you said, answering your phone at all hours of the day. I think there's different ways to run a business in real estate. For me, I learned from another mentor, actually, that was at North Dakota, Mike Elena. Very early on, he said, you need to set your boundaries and your availability to your clients. Like no job is 24 hours a day, right? You don't answer your phone at 2 a.m. And for that reason, if you call my voicemail, it says, from 5 to 8, thanks for calling. If you're calling between the hours of 5 and 8, I'm with my family, and I'll call you back. Yeah. And I can't tell you how much kudos and goodwill I've received both from clients and from other agents that exists, right? Because I think it's very easy to get caught up in, hey, I'm available all the time. Call me whenever. It's what you go on, Google business pages for agents. It's 24 hours a day.
24 hours. Yeah.
There's very few people that are working 24 hours a day. And I don't think that that's the work-life balance that I want for myself or my team. So,
well, and if they're calling that, they're probably getting a call center. So it's not the level of service that whoever's calling would potentially expect.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you've done a great job of growing with quality and integrity too. Your team produces the same level of experience, at least from what I can see in that perspective, as you did initially when it was just you two. And that's important. You're growing both in volume, and then your quality is staying stable. It's not dropping. You're not becoming, shall we say, the McDonald's of real estate agents. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just you seem to have set out with a higher bar for experience for your clients.
Well, I appreciate that. We try hard, we try hard to make sure that it's consistent. And as far as our marketing, and a lot of it is on social media, we batch content. Each one of us, once a week, we meet with Justin Godsey of Godsey Creative. He does pretty much, I'd say 90% of most of our video production. Yeah. And that includes market updates, listing tours. We do a lot of fun videos and we got more in the works, which we're looking forward to doing. But a lot of it is, I want to create content that I would want to watch too, right? Sure. It's fun. There's a lot of real estate can be fun, but it can also be kind of boring, right? There's a lot of numbers and a lot of, things that make people just kind of yawn and like, all right, well, what else do you have to say? So I like to put things into perspective. I just did a fun video where I compared the current real estate market to a fantasy football draft. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. But to kind of put things in the context of what people already know, right? To kind of align two, subjects where one is like, all right, I know all about that, but real estate is kind of foreign to me, to kind of bring it back home and say like, this is like this, so to break it down, to look at it at a different lens, different perspective. And I think you guys do a great job of that too on inspections, comparing, like, I don't know, like an HVAC system to like a car, right? As far as how you take care of it and change the oil and all that kind of stuff, it'll last a lot longer if you do those things, even though it might be a little older. But, putting things into perspective and context, I think is a big part of, what our clients appreciate when we're explaining things, in such a way that, it's easily understood.
You guys have your videos are really good. I mean, I certainly I look forward to seeing them now because they're fun. They're all different and they're all creative. My Instagram is our business Instagram has lots of agents attached to it, and I see a lot that are kind of within the box. You know, hey, this is 123
And nothing
Hope
wrong
Street.
with that, but
Nothing Hope Street. Let's go on a tour in the house. Actually, I don't see that as much as I used to, but that's how it would kind of start out. You know, produce video on that, and you're diving into pools, doing
we
things
kind
that
of
are
made
relevant.
we made that somewhat of a hard rule on the
Yeah,
team. Of course, then winter came around. I'm like, oh no, why did we say we were going to do
still
this?
got to do it.
It's just fun. It's just fun,
Yeah.
And in the summertime when you're out there filming, man, you want to jump in that pool so bad anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of become a signature thing. I think there was one pool that we maybe didn't do, and it was super cold. One of our teammates went in winter, and she was like borderline like hypothermia. So I don't know. Maybe we have to have everybody sign a waiver before doing anything like that.
It's a killer way to showcase a house and get attention. For
it's fun,
both the
yeah.
buyer, the seller, and the team. I mean, the buyer's going to have that video forever too when they buy a house. It's good.
Yeah. I like videos that show what it's like to live in a home. Like anybody can say, oh, point out the obvious, right? Oh, look, there's 4 windows here, and there's also a door, and oh, look, there's a toilet in this. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's more to it.
Those are givens.
I like the ones where they put a little bit of creativity in it, a little bit of humor. Make it relatable. To me that just it's just more fun to watch. And like I said, I like to create content that I would enjoy watching. And of course, in my own mind, I think I'm hilarious. And my wife tells me that all the time. She's like, "Are you laughing to yourself right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, kind of."
Wait, your wife thinks that you think you're hilarious.
Yes.
She doesn't think that you're hilarious.
Not all the time. No,
there's a distinction.
Not all the time. But she actually, bringing up my wife, she actually is also a licensed real estate agent.
Yeah.
Both of us come from the restaurant background. And she wanted to do something that she could do from home.
Yeah.
And so she got her license, and she's our transaction coordinator. She's actually our transaction coordinator for Realty One Group. So she has multiple agents that she does transaction coordination for.
Yeah.
And transaction coordination, for those that are thinking about getting into the industry, it frees up so much of your time to focus on your clients. It really does. It's all the back of the house paperwork, signatures, keeping things organized, timelines, scheduling inspections. She talks to dwell inspect more than I do, I think, as far as that side of it goes, as far as calling Leah. But it's invaluable, and I'm sure she'd like to hear this, but we couldn't do it without her. So
for sure. I mean, I call her. I skip your calling you sometimes because I know I'm going to get the answer faster, and I'll call her.
Go to the source.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it works out too for pickups and drop-offs for the kids, and being there for sports and all that. She can go anywhere. She has her laptop. She can be literally anywhere. Internet connection and laptop, and
that's all you need.
Mobile office. She can go wherever she needs to be.
Tell me, we've established real estate has a tendency to be high stress, 24-hour business. Tell me how it's affected your health and what you've learned from it.
So I don't want people to think that what I'm about to tell you has anything to do with stress or real estate. But in 2021 in March, I had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And, I was 40 at the time. I was 42.
Yeah.
So not necessarily the demographic you would expect to have a heart attack. And so, long story short, I had my COVID vaccination 2 days before. And so I was at an open house putting out signs, and I started to feel kind of weird, and chest pains and all the stuff that you hear on TV, right? Shortness of breath. I thought I was having heartburn. So my wife was up the road. It wasn't far from our home where I was doing the open house, and I called her. I said, "Can you drop me off some Tums?" I said, "I got a heartburn or something." So she dropped it off to me, and I was about to open up, and I had to sit down on the couch, and I was like, my traps started hurting really bad, and then my cheeks started hurting, which I come to find out afterwards for men is a telltale sign that you're having a heart attack. But at the time, I thought it was maybe a reaction to my COVID. vaccination. So I was hypersensitive to that, oh, something's going on. So I called her back and I said, something's not right. I think I need you to come get me. And the story I like to tell is I went and I collected all my open house signs and put them away, and I'm waiting there, at the house for her. And
you went and got your signs.
It was a townhouse.
Heart attack.
Well, I had to get my sign. I didn't know I was having a heart attack, but I put them all away in the truck, and then she came back to get me, and it was a condo complex. And so she had found me the first time with the signs, and the second time there were no signs, so she didn't know where I was. She knew the vicinity, the area, right? But they all looked the same. So she's parked like 100 yards down, like the length of a football field down this street. So I'm like walking to her while I'm having a heart attack. That's the story I like to tease her about. Like, remember that time you made me walk like the length of a football field while I was having a heart attack? She's like, I don't know where you are. But anyway, come to find out, it's hereditary. I had high cholesterol that I didn't know about. So this is a PSA for anybody in their early 40s, late 30s, even, go get your cholesterol checked. You never know. Just kind of see where you're at. And we asked the doctor, like, was there any, because everybody's like, oh, it's because of the COVID, vaccination. They're like, there's no correlation that has anything to do with it.
Sure.
Like, it was probably inevitable, regardless. And whether that had anything to do with it, I mean, time will tell. I don't know if they'll do tests later on, but more to the point is the way I look at it, had I not had my test and had it like later on in life or whatever, or not test, excuse me, vaccination. And say it would have happened regardless. I would have powered through it. I wouldn't have thought anything of it. I would have just thought, until I was lying on the ground, that I was just having a heartburn of some sort. So now I'm on medication. I got to eat a little bit better, got to exercise, started going on walks recently. So, but I don't think it has anything to do with stress. I don't typically stress out. I'm not a stressful person. And some people are like, well, maybe it's because you keep it all in. I'm like, I don't have anything to be stressed about.
What are you supposed to do? Yell about?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think if anything, it's just taught me to be a little bit more in tune with my physical health and, eat a little bit better, and so that's my PSA for everybody that doesn't like going to the doctor or doesn't get regular checkups. I think it's just peace of mind, So
it's not specifically related to real estate, but it's a reminder that business can wait and you should take care of yourself so that you continue to serve your clients.
The other perspective is just living in the now,
and
appreciating every moment, and just know that, time is precious, time is precious. And, the time that you have, right now it could all be gone tomorrow. So just make the most of every moment, and, obviously let the people you love know you love them,
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a life or death experience in that sense, though. Like, people are like, did you see, like, your life flashing before your eye? Did you start thinking? I'm a hopeless optimist. So I was like, all right, well, we're going in, we're going to get taken care of.
Yeah.
Fine. Meanwhile, my wife's like sobbing, like just besides herself. But I don't know. I just kind of felt like, everything was going to be okay. Knock on wood, it has been, but,
good.
So in terms of, spending time or making the most of your time as a real estate agent, I think that work-life balance is really, really important, regardless of, if you're a part-time agent, full-time agent, if you have a team or not, like, make sure that you're taking the time to, have that balance and, be as productive as you can for your clients without getting burnt out, it is a job, kind of to your point that, you can get stressed out, I would imagine, if, you allow it to, to run your life. Like, you need to run your business, not have your business run you. And I think there's a lot of people that don't learn that until, they have, an incident something like that.
Yeah.
What's next for you? What's next for you? Here's a question I was going to ask you. And by the way, I love this construct. One of my favorite shows is, I don't, have you seen the show? It's called Hot Ones on YouTube.
Yeah. It's awesome.
One of my favorite, it's like like Between Two Ferns type of, show, kind of like this, but they're eating progressively hotter hot wings, they get up to like million Scoville, whatever, and they can't even communicate at that point. Like, they're just hallucinating. It's the best. So next time we do this, I suggest we do like a significantly hotter something.
Hot wings. Okay.
And see how we do. Yeah, we do the hot one challenge. Maybe not 10, I think that's excessive. Maybe 4 or 5, and let's stick on the lower end. Can you handle hot food, by the way?
I can handle hot food, but I mean, some of that
I'm a
stuff you have to
weenie.
work into. Well, that's
Oh
fine. We
man,
don't want to.
I'm gonna need everything. I'm gonna need ice cream and all the stuff on the side. But here's a question I was gonna ask you:
Yeah.
what tool or device, either real or yet to be invented, would make a home inspector's job easier?
What tool or device? Um,
Like you can think like sci-fi or something like legitimate that maybe exists or hasn't yet come to be yet. Like what are some things that I'm just
well, I
curious. Just
mean,
throwing out the hard question, Sean.
there's um there's a constantly improving need for um, speed in software development. We're kind of a niche business, and there are some good softwares out there, but the faster you can do on the software, the easier it is to create the report and deliver the report. We use what I consider best in the business, but there's no like real money in it. You know, there's no like Google that's in it. So the people that are creating it are working on that. But so that's like the real thing. Your sci-fi is in our introduction speech, we have the lines can't see through walls and can't predict the future. So anything that would help us to see through the walls and also predict the future of what's going to happen in a house, because you know, a house is thousands, hundreds of thousands of parts, and stuff
X-ray
happens.
glasses. X-ray
glasses
would be fantastic, right?
if you will, you know, or contacts or something like that that gets us the ability to see through. But predicting the future, like for example, I have a 5-year-old roof on my house, and these horrific monsoon storms caused a leak, or
wow.
multiple leaks in my house. And you know, it's a concrete tile house. There's really no way of knowing that until it happens. And so, if we were able to predict the future, sure, we could predict when a roof is going to leak and when it needs to be changed, and that it wasn't created, you know, installed by a human being, who human beings that we've established are, you know, designed imperfectly. So those are the things that would help clients or help home inspections, but they're also part of what kind of makes a good home inspector stand out from a less good inspector, or somebody who's not putting forth the same amount of effort. That makes sense. Like we can try and investigate things further.
Back to the Future, probably one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Of my youth.
Yeah.
If you could travel back in time or forward in time and come back to this moment, what would you prefer to go back in time, or would you go forward in time? Speaking of predicting the future.
I always liked the second Back to the Future, but I think it was because of the Nikes and the hover skateboard.
We're supposed to have flying cars. The Cubs won the World Series. Where
the Cubs won the World Series. Yeah. And
right.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. And then that makes, you know, now that sports gambling is pretty easy to get a hold of. You don't have to call a bookie or whatever. You just have it on your phone.
Yeah.
You can go make a couple of bets like Biff did.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'd like to go into the future just to kind of see, like, you know, the things that we're not going to be around for. Like, I'd like to go far in the future. Right?
Oh, deep.
Yeah. I'd like to go far in the future and just kind of see what's up.
You know, most of business is really not recreating the wheel. So you could also go back and talk to some of really successful people that are involved in businesses that have, and learn from their experience. I mean, you could make connections with mega mentors if you went back, you know, and learn from them too. And learn.
I know you're talking. I know you're making this business related. I'm just talking about just for my own personal.
Sorry. For your own personal.
But no, for business purposes, yeah. I mean, there might be, but even going in the future, right, to learn new technologies and better ways of doing the exact same thing, right? You know, you look back in time and the things that productivity, right, what we used to do and ways of doing the same thing, you know, now that we've perfected it, you know. So no, I like that. It's a fun question. Yeah, I think I love this construct, by the way. I think I'm going to start doing something like this
Yeah, it's a lot
with
of
either
fun.
clients or business owners, or you know what I mean, like just to kind of get a feel for who they are and what they do, and make it fun. You know.
I think it's a lot of you get to know people on a deeper level when we're staring one to one. And I talked about it with a group that I'm involved with. In just before this, we were on a Zoom call with inspectors from across the country, and it's like a coffee date, but it's on steroids. Like you and I aren't drinking coffee. There's not people walking in different directions or things to capture your attention. Like we're having a one-on-one conversation, getting to know each other about our business and our personal life too. I think it's
By the
great.
way, next time we do this, I want to do it where like, oh wait, which hand? I'm gonna go like this, and I'm gonna like give you a cup of coffee, and then you like reach in your
Pull out.
yeah. You'd have to do it the opposite screen. Am I on the right side or the left side for you?
You're on the right. You have to go left. Go with your left arm. Is that your left
High
arm?
five.
Go with your
This is
right
my
arm.
right hand. No, the other way. Yep, there it is. High five.
Come the other way.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, this has been fun. I have to
It
go
has.
to an inspection with a company you may have heard about. They inspect dwellings.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got an inspection with Dwell Inspect here coming up here in just a little bit. So I gotta book it. But thank you so much for the opportunity to come on with you and chit chat. I'd love to do it again, and I'd love to have
Yep.
you on
Part two.
my podcast whenever I decide to create one. But I love this construct, and I think just off the cuff and just kind of casual, talking about stuff, and
For sure.
it's fun.
Jason, thank you for taking your time. I appreciate you, and I appreciate getting to know you. And so, yeah, we'll do this again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you for listening to Just Another Real Estate Podcast. For the latest episodes, please subscribe and be sure to follow Dwell Inspect Arizona on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. To contact Dwell Inspect Arizona, call us at 480-867-4599. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, email our team at office@dwellinspectaz.com.